Hello, Internet, and thank you for joining me today. Greetings, new friends, and thank you for joining me. I really wasn't expecting that Invincible video to take off, but it sure did, and I love it. But I do want to be forthcoming here and say I'm actually a fairly cranky asshole, and I take a special aim at Disney and Fox because they have exactly zero reasons to produce anything as creatively bankrupt as She Hulk. Pixar is another focus of this ire because they have all of the backing of one of the biggest media empires on the planet and access to the most creative people in this business. However, we still get trash like Lightyear, which doesn't make me mad, just disappointed. Which is something your dad might have said to you if your mom wasn't so bad in bed. But Pixar has actually been doing pretty well recently. Monsters of Work came out, and it was pretty much better than any of the Marvel shows I've seen, and season 2 in particular was actually really fantastic. Dream Productions came out, and it was flawed, but still an interesting twist on the concept. Elemental uh, came out, and some people saw it, but now we have this new show, Win or Lose, which seems promising as it's actually a truly original Pixar project, which I don't think we've really seen since like Luca, maybe? I don't know. I'd have to get fact checked on that. I'll let you do it down in the comments. To get us started here, I actually want to start in what some of you would acknowledge is the most natural starting place, episode 2. And I'm doing this because episode 1 is frankly amazing. 3 and 4 just dropped as I'm writing slash recording this, and they were okay, so they get to go in a good video while I dump all over this piece of shit. It's becoming a habit of mine to put some disclaimers in my videos before I dig into the meat of it, really. And so I'll keep that up here with some disclaimers. I won't be recapping this whole episode, mostly because I hate doing it, but also because I don't think it adds much to my critiques. But I also wanted to disclaim that there was apparently an episode about a trans kid that got scrapped. I'm not going to be commenting on that because I would have to do some research, and that's not the kind of channel this is. Plus, I got other stuff going on, so yeah, we're just going to skip right past that and just not acknowledge that it happened. Now, I said I wasn't going to recap this literally like 10 seconds ago, but yeah, I'm going to have to give you some kind of context for what I'm talking about here, so let me start off with this. The entire show is about a kids' softball team, and some of the people that are tangentially related to this team with a stereotypical big game that everyone's getting ready for. And each episode covers one of the members of the team or one of the adults that's tangentially related to this team as they are leading up to this big game. So each episode is relaying the same 3 days, but from a myriad of perspectives. So you have episode 1, which is about one of the girls on the team who sucks, but is also one of the most lovable creatures that God ever gave sweat glands. And episode 2 is about the umpire that is calling the shots in the game, who is one of the most pathetic characters that I have seen since the water guy in Elemental. And as more episodes come out, we will learn more about different members of the team and those somewhat related to them. But all of these characters are supposed to have their own little story arc in each episode, all leading up to that big game where everything will probably tie together. But let me tell you, if this fat, loathsome waste of space in episode 2 gets some kind of quote-unquote satisfying conclusion, there is no justice in the world. But okay, I've danced around this long enough. Let's just dig right into this. I did a really poor job at burying the lead here, but the main problem with episode 2 is just our quote-unquote main character here. I hate this guy. All of his problems are of his own making. Like, he breaks up with his Asian girlfriend and then kicks her out of their shared house. And then he spends the entire rest of the episode whining about it. He acts like he doesn't have any agency in his life and relies on everyone else around him to do all of the things for him. And looking specifically at this kind of homophobic stereotype, I feel like he's really obnoxious and only shows up like twice, but I don't think he gets a name. Why don't you have a name, stereotype man? Anyway, the one time our hero, protagonist, whatever you want to call him, tries to take some kind of action for himself, it's actually like negative character growth, since he is regressing back into some kind of codependent relationship with this ex-girlfriend that he's been pining over. It's like, bro, I get it. I too really enjoy 47-year-old Vietnamese women, but we all gotta move on. Speaking of moving on, my second complaint about this show is that I just hate the metaphor. It lacks literally all sense of subtlety, which is a major problem since the rest of this show has a similar blunt style but infuses so much more meaning. Alright, so I guess I should put some kind of spoiler warning here, so go ahead and click off if you don't want episode 4 spoilers. But there's this mom character, and she's getting validation from a disgusting live streaming some human routine she's got going on, and the metaphor is not subtle. There's these little hearts that, pop up and they give her validation. But they're also waking her up every morning and moving her around from place to place. And that actually does convey this subtle nuance that her window of an outside world, outside of being a mom, outside of being, this provider for her family, exists, and that's the only thing kind of driving her to do new things. It's a very blunt instrument, but it's used in an elegant way. But the armor metaphor in episode 2 isn't that. It is just armor as armor. Like, I get it. He's hiding in an emotional set of armor that doesn't allow anyone else in. Ooh, it's like someone explained the hedgehog's dilemma to a group of students, then a third someone from that escaped from the Panderverse, stole the notes from the least attentive student in that second group, and then they wrote this character. It occurs to me that might not make sense to a single living human being outside of myself. So let's just move on, but rest assured that this is all bad. Moving on to my final gripe here, and it's that I really hate the pacing of this episode. There's just tons of wasted time. The whole show actually has kind of a wonky storytelling structure, and it doesn't lend itself to a more linear storytelling that we are probably used to seeing. But episode 2 is probably the worst about this, with things just kind of happening without a sense of escalating tension or thoughtful plotting. What it really feels like is that it's here as filler so that we can set up the rest of the series. Like, there's quite a few plot setups here, with the cheating thing being the biggest thing to influence episode 3 and 4 as we move on. There's interactions with the girl from 3 and the mom from 4, and I'm sure we're going to come back to a few different things that were set up in episode 2 as we march towards what I'm assuming is going to be 8 episodes, but I don't know because I didn't look it up. And there's a moment in this episode 2 that literally just feels like a huge waste of time. There's like this Tinder sort of facsimile that the guy uses, and that takes up like 3 to 4 minutes of screen time, only for him to get like immediately shut down and it to feel like this massive cul-de-sac of plot. Like, nothing was accomplished within that 3 to 4 minutes of screen time. And when your episode's only about 20 minutes long, not including credits, that's like 20% of screen time dedicated to absolutely nothing. I am open to this coming back at the end of the series. Like, one of the moms is going to be one of the chicks that he saw on this Tinder thing, but I just kind of don't care because it doesn't explain itself in this episode, which is the one I'm currently watching. So, why do I care about it here if it's only going to be relevant 4 episodes from now? I see that I've hit the 10-minute mark, so let me just reiterate here in my wrap up that if this guy gets a happy ending, I'm going to be so pissed because he really doesn't deserve it. If he were portrayed as a younger man, then maybe I wouldn't care as much, but he's like an adult. I'm guessing like in his 30s, and as a fellow 30-something, I can't sympathize with a guy that refuses to learn anything. You don't have the kind of defense that he's, trying to learn or trying to get on his feet, since he should have had several experiences in his life like this before. So he's either continuing a cycle that is destructive or such a pathetic man-child that he's never made hard choices in his life. Neither one make me sympathize with him, though. The only just ending I could see for this character is that I kind of want to see him quit his job because he has no business trying to teach students, move back in with his mom, and then go to therapy, and then continue in life never working around children again. But anyway, I think that's going to wrap everything up for me this time. If you liked what you see here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to a state where I can monetize this channel, so it'd really help me out if you subscribed or commented or liked the video. And if you want to see more, then I'm hoping to release several things in the near future. But until next time, sayonara, bitches.